Bien, entonces, ¿con qué dispositivo ustedes cuentan para sus planificaciones de clase?
Does theory count? I mean, the material that we read when we have some doubts or
No,
questions?
Franco, imaginen que ustedes ese lesson plan que hicieron, lo van a dar. Van a dar esa clase. ¿Cuál es el dispositivo que ustedes van a usar? No en situación, no en contexto de pandemia. Imagínense que que COVID-19 no existió nunca.
The classroom?
Claro. The classroom or the English class at school. Because that was the context, or not?
Yes, and the instruments, right? Every material that we might use.
Okay, now we're going there. Okay, let's read about that. I wanted to be sure that you could make a difference between what a resource, porque la única forma de traducir dispositivo es resource. Estuvimos dándole vueltas con Laura el año pasado a cómo traducirlo y no encontramos otra palabra que no fuera, porque device es otra cosa. No se puede traducir como device, porque en realidad con device terminás cayendo más que nada en la idea de el instrumento o la cosa, ¿sí? Okay, now let's read about techniques. La técnica. Se entiende habitualmente el conjunto de procedimientos predeterminados para implementar una acción, basada en conocimientos teórico-prácticos. Cuando hablamos de recursos, bueno, a ver, ¿qué sería una técnica? Un conjunto de procedimientos predeterminados para implementar una acción.
I was thinking on the procedure that you follow in order to present an activity or,
yes,
or a topic
is.
or...
Fine. Can you think of one of the techniques that you use in order to get information from the students, in order to find out how much they know or if they remember what they have been studying or what they have been dealing with lately in the classroom? No, it's very easy.
Asking a
Is
question.
that simple as asking them?
So how do you call when you ask them questions to find out?
Elicitation.
Somebody is writing something on the chat.
Yes, Amy wrote
elicitation. We got it. Okay, elicitation is a technique. What do? You ask questions. Sometimes yes, no questions. Sometimes WH questions. Sometimes they are sentences and they are incomplete, and you create a kind of pause for the students to fill it in, right, with their responses. So that is what elicitation is. Sometimes you show them pictures, all right, but in fact, there you are using the technique of elicitation. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes. So that is what the technique is. I do some things. I mean, so I take some actions, right? And these actions, in a way, have a purpose. And that purpose is getting information from the students. Right? Then, I mean, you have another technique, punishment. You can use, for example, pop quizzes or tests as punishment. Entonces, y si no me contestan, si no hicieron la tarea, les tomo examen. Entonces, uso esa técnica. Cada uno sabe, ¿sí? Si está bien o no. ¿Ok? Para hacer que mis alumnos hagan la tarea. ¿Ok? Eso sería otra técnica.
Is that advisable? I mean,
No.
punishing students? Okay.
It used to be, it was corporal punishment was, I mean, allowed last century. My mom used to be asked to kneel down on corn
Yes,
when
that's true.
she talked in the class. If she was talking to a friend of hers, a classmate, and because the students were supposed to be in complete silence. So if you dared say something to the person that was sitting next to you, you could be, let's say, punished in different ways. And she told me that at that time in Santa Fe, she used to live in Rafaela. Her teacher made her sit down over corn seeds. Believe it. Imagine if we did something like that. Okay. If we wanted to punish our students because they speak in the English classroom, that would be nuts, right? Well, but those are the things that, well, used to happen, right? Education has changed a lot, right? Well, so any questions about what technique is? Because now we're moving on to resources.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Could it be scaffolding technique or
Yes.
not?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
It is. Because there are many things you have to do in order to scaffold. Can you mention another technique that I insist on with your lesson plans?
Contextualization.
Yes. Okay, right, it is. It's what I find it really difficult sometimes is to draw a line between technique and strategy, right? It's very, I mean, drawing the line is not so easy. But I would say that contextualization is, because it is easily spotted, right, as a technique, and it applies to all classroom situations. I mean, you can use contextualization no matter if it is a test, it can be a revision lesson, it can be consolidation, practice, presentation. Oh, I touched something. That is the recording of the previous session. All right. Okay, let's read about recursos. Cuando hablamos de recursos, en general hacemos referencia a las apoyaturas materiales de la enseñanza. Pizarrón, películas, material de laboratorio, computadora, textos y otros. ¿Cómo los llamamos o cómo los vamos a llamar nosotros en inglés? Materials. ¿Ok? Entonces yo después les hago un resumen. So how are we going to call dispositivos? Resource. Recursos? Materials. ¿Ok? Right? And then we have, what else? Techniques? Techniques. Right? Can you give me an example of materials? Another one apart from computer?
The course book.
Very good, okay. Yes, something that you use to show the students?
The board?
The board, yes, it is there. Visualize.
Videos, music.
And what do you think, structure tables or substitution tables? Are they materials?
Sorry, Sandra, I read about substitution tables, but I believe that the concept is not quite clear to me. Can you maybe briefly explain what
A
they are?
substitution table is? It's when you give the students some kind of chart, right? Where where you can see, for example, the verb, the subject, different verbs, right, for them to choose. But the thing is that it's not a Blackboard synopsis or a formula, right? The structure table generally has different, let's say, items in the different columns. I'll show you one. I'll post one. I love structure tables because they can really become very meaningful and they help a lot. I mean, the old school used to say the substitution tables were something, let's say, repetitive and dull. But in fact, it much depends on how you organize the structure table. You can even make it really a lot of fun because you can make different combinations. I will show you one. I have one in my files, okay? And then I'll show you one, right?
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I will upload it onto the Google Classroom. Bueno, acá dice, no obstante, a veces lo encontramos utilizando lo encontramos utilizado genéricamente como dispositivo. Así lo utiliza Spiegel y sus aportes son esclarecedores porque destacan la función del docente en la utilización de todo recurso. Es decir, acá habla de la ventaja diferencial y tiene que ver con el recurso por sí mismo, no tiene nada que ver con lo didáctico. Y ahí está la diferencia con la técnica, porque si yo digo elicitation, yo pienso en acción didáctica, ¿sí? En acción mediadora. Ahora, si yo digo póster, puede ser el póster de las bandanas que tenían, ¿sí? O puede ser el póster que muestra las partes de la casa. Entonces, ahí está la ventaja diferencial, es decir, un póster cualquiera puede ser un instrumento didáctico. Y eso, es decir, ese material didáctico se convierte en material didáctico con la intervención del docente. Porque per se no lo es. ¿Ok? Por eso, era lo que yo les decía de Zoom. Zoom es un recurso, pero no es un recurso didáctico si no está utilizado para dar clase. Solo lo puedo usar para, como hago yo, con mis compañeras de la facultad nos juntamos a charlar. ¿Sí? Ahí no lo estoy usando didácticamente. ¿Sí? ¿Se entiende?
Yes.
¿Vamos?
Yes.
Ok. Dice el autor que todo material puede constituirse en un recurso didáctico, siempre y cuando haya un docente que lo utilice porque le encuentre una ventaja diferencial con relación a los otros posibles. Y eso es lo que somos nosotros los docentes, buscadores. Siempre terminamos. Tengo esta cajita acá, bueno, no sé si se ve, de galletitas. Bueno, por ahí no me la toma la cámara. Y esta cajita de galletitas, yo la transformo en un recurso, en un material didáctico. Veo qué hago con esto. ¿Qué les enseño? Arriba, abajo, adentro, afuera. Y yo ya usando esa cajita, de esa forma ya le hice una construcción, le agregué algo, una utilidad. Y eso es lo que hace que termine siendo un recurso didáctico, un material didáctico. Entonces, dice, es decir, que considera que el uso del mismo aportará a la organización y mejora de una clase. Un recurso didáctico entendido como las distintas herramientas de trabajo que elige el docente. Aporta una ventaja diferencial. Se ayuda a solucionar algún problema o limitación. O a esclarecerlo, ¿sí? La categoría de recurso didáctico, no puede universalizarse porque se construye desde la práctica. El rótulo de recurso didáctico lo asigna, más allá de las clasificaciones formales y de las etiquetas comerciales, un docente particular para una clase específica, luego de lo que ha evaluado críticamente y ha elegido su herramienta de trabajo entre todos los materiales o estrategias disponibles. Y ahora vamos al término estrategia. ¿Siguen? ¿Sí? ¿Me escuchan? Porque me está apareciendo ahí como que mi conexión no es estable. Por eso les preguntaba si me están escuchando. ¿Yes? ¿Se escucha?
Now I can. I couldn't as the.
Sí, no me
Yes,
apareció algo.
Okay.
Yes, there was a
we
message
lost you for
there.
a second.
Yes, saying that my connection was not stable. So that's why I realized that perhaps you were not following me. Don't worry, because I guess that the system is still, well, I was reading, just that, basically. Let's go to what? The word strategy. El término estrategia hace referencia a la posibilidad de coordinar diversas acciones de tal manera que el efecto no es una mera suma de las partes. Es el conjunto de procesos y secuencias didácticas que el docente va regulando para concretar los objetivos previstos en sus clases. Entonces, ¿qué estrategia didáctica utilizan ustedes para para practicar el pasado simple? Bueno, piénsenlo. ¿Solamente elicitation?
It could be grading strategy.
Okay. Grading all alone is a technique.
Okay.
But grading with variety of activities, together with elicitation, together with input +1, all those different actions are part of the same strategy. And what is the goal? That the students, well, we learn the goals of your lesson. See? Exemplification, it's another technique that we use together with others when we want the students to understand clearly, right, what they are supposed to do. So when you give the students an activity, do you just read the instructions? No, sometimes you read the instructions, you give them an example, and then ask a question related to something that appears there in the activity to make sure, right, that they understood what they are requested to do. Well, all that you do, all those 3 techniques that you use are part of your strategy that will allow you to move forward. Monitoring is let's say, a technique that becomes a strategy in assessing. See? Now I repeat, it's very difficult sometimes to sort of draw lines, right, in terms of strategy, technique, resources, materials. But there are some distinctive, let's say, functions that we need to know. We need to know what resources in terms of a place or a room or let's say an event that allows pedagogic, didactic teaching and learning exchange. For example, that when we talk about the workshop or when we talk about the conversation, let's say session and all that. All right? Okay. So I want you to have the concepts clear. Perhaps drawing a line between strategies and techniques is not so easy. And I don't mind if you use them in, let's say, if you use them interchangeably. I don't mind. But the problem is that sometimes you confuse, for example, a technique with materials, and they are not the same. We should have clear in mind what materials are and what techniques are, because the technique is something you do. The material is something that is inanimate. It's there. Okay, and it becomes a didactic or a teaching material or resource if you do something with it. Okay? Well, I hope that these concepts helps you to understand some, let's say, confusions that you may have had before. Después dice, es el conjunto de procesos y secuencias didácticas que el docente va regulando para concretar los objetivos previstos en sus clases. Quizás resulte más apropiado referirnos a secuencias didácticas, ya que se trata de un concepto netamente pedagógico. Las mismas consisten en una serie articulada de recursos, procedimientos y actividades que el docente propone a sus alumnos para concretar la transposición didáctica, la apropiación del contenido por parte del alumno. Las secuencias didácticas son un poco más complejas y más a largo plazo, ¿sí? Y tienen que ver más que nada con un tema, ¿no? Un área, ¿sí? Son áreas temáticas. En otro trabajo, Sanjurjo y Rodríguez, también realizamos consideraciones acerca de los conceptos de actividad y de método y explicitamos los fundamentos por los cuales preferimos referirnos a un enfoque metodológico en lugar de método. Para profundizar al respecto remitimos a dicho trabajo. Bueno, en síntesis, desde nuestra perspectiva, las múltiples selecciones y articulaciones posibles hacen necesario que el docente conozca lo que se les proponen desde las teorías, desde las editoriales y desde el currículum prescripto. Pero también que, conociendo el contenido a enseñar y el contexto en el que se desarrollará su práctica, pueda construir nuevos recursos y articularlos imaginativamente. Lo que será parte de un importante margen de improvisación, pero también dependerá de la caja de herramientas teórico-prácticas que vaya armando durante su formación inicial y desarrollo profesional. Tanto la selección de técnicas, recursos o procedimientos como la construcción de secuencias didácticas se hacen siempre en función de lo que el docente crea más conveniente para promover, facilitar y concretar el aprendizaje de un contenido escolar en una situación particular. Las decisiones didácticas tienen siempre un fundamento, provenga este del conocimiento teórico, experiencial o tenga que ver con creencias internalizadas acríticamente. Y estas son las theories in action. Do you remember? Si un docente enseña a sus alumnos solo a través de informaciones verbales o los hace interaccionar con los contenidos con o sin intervención de su parte, subyace a cada una de esas modalidades de resolver un trabajo en el aula una concepción acerca de cómo se produce el aprendizaje, de cómo concretarlo y, en definitiva, acerca de cómo son sus alumnos, qué es el contenido escolar y qué es la enseñanza. Por ello nos referiremos en los próximos ítems a los fundamentos o principios que consideramos para ayudar a nuestras clases. ¿Sí? Fíjense cómo acá afloran un montón de conceptos que nosotros hemos estado trabajando. Is it clear now? Because I think it was last class that we talked about resources, techniques. I don't know, we were talking about different things in terms of your lesson plans. And, well, in a way, these confusions arose, and I thought it was a good idea to go over this. Okay? Elicitation, contextualization, are they like a material born out of technique? No, because in fact I think that elicitation, it's not material at all. Because in fact, I mean, there's nothing that you can, let's say, handle in order to conduct elicitation. I think it is a technique, definitely. Now, you can do things to elicit information. Now, you can use materials such as visual input to elicit information. Okay? I don't know if I am answering your question, Emiliano. But these are crucial questions. I don't know. I have the feeling sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken, that sometimes you have very simple questions and you are afraid of asking them because you assume that you are supposed to know it. And the problem is that we fall into mistakes because of these, misconceptions, or let's say misunderstandings. And then there is nothing wrong with committing a mistake. The problem is that if you do not ask, I can never know. So I thought about this. I've got two options. Maybe I can create a doc in the classroom for you to pose, to write questions, existential questions that you might have and you have never asked, right? Say, Sandra, I don't know what zone of proximal development is. I don't understand it. Perhaps you might feel a bit intimidated if you have to write that question under your name. Because you say, Sandra is going to be very angry with me because I am supposed to understand it by the time of the year we are, right? But I thought that perhaps we can have a clinic, as we call, I mean, this, let's say, fashionable, trendy word that they are using. What do you think about that? Would you like to have a clinic in which we talk about different, let's say, doubts that you may have in terms of seminario, didactics? Perhaps I can help you.
I believe that would be a good idea. Yes.
Yes,
Like
it is
that.
a great idea.
Okay, so the problem is, when are we going to do it? I don't want to do that in groups because it will be repeating myself over and over again. And it is a good thing to share that. Imagine, maybe Cielo has a doubt and Camila thought or had the same confusion, but she never, let's say, doubted about this idea she had about elicitation, imagine. And when Cielo made the mistake, made the question, then Camila clarified her idea on what elicitation was. So that's why it is important to be together as a group, right? Do you believe it may be good for you to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
let's do it
it
next
is.
Wednesday. Do
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
if that's okay.
And
Yeah.
about Feuerstein's mediation, I'm going to prepare, right, a couple of questions, right, on that, together with the ones that we have shared, and then we will see how we are going to socialize that. But I want to give priority to your doubts. Why? Because the doubts or the misconceptions that you have may lead you to make mistakes. Because I'm sure that some of you had an idea of what, let's say, for example, I'll give you a clear example. Blackboard synopsis and Blackboard display. Most of you had the same, let's say, confusion. So I realized that you really didn't know what the difference between them was once I started reading your lesson plans. Okay? So what I would do is to, but of course, we're going to have a session, but you will have to bring into, let's say, the Zoom class, your doubts, okay? So you have to be active. I'm not going to ask, do you know the difference between this? No, you will say, Sandra, this is what is driving me crazy. What do you mean by, or what are we referring to when we say this or the other? Okay? Do you agree?
Yes, okay.
Okay, well, so get ready for that for next Wednesday. And another thing I wanted to say before the session finishes is that, well, in fact, we are not rounding up there is no final work for Seminario 2 because we will have to complete the teaching practice somehow, somewhere, okay, someday next year. I have an idea of what we can do with Taller de Acción Educativa to ease your work next year in terms of not being overloaded with Seminario 2 and Taller de Acción Educativa. Maybe I will have to talk to the teachers in charge, as we are meant to do secondary school teaching practice. Perhaps you will be doing the secondary school teaching practice, and on the first part, you will be observed by me and Laura, and then the teachers of Taller de Educativa, Acción Educativa. So you will not be, let's say, doing practice in secondary school twice. It will be only once. That is to say, not only one lesson, only one period. That is the idea I had the other day.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be great.
But I think that we have to agree on this with the teachers from Taller de Acción Educativa. And we will see what the prospects of teaching are, right? Then we have another ace up in the sleeve that would be, let's say, El Silen. Okay, but well,
okay.
Let's try to compress in a way, why not, your teaching practice, because imagine if you have to do 2 different interventions in secondary schools. Maybe we can merge it into one. Okay?
Okay, yes.
But that would be, because we have just received the news that we have to sort of somehow come to an agreement with, let's say, the teachers that share the same, let's say, teaching practice, let's say, subjects from Secretaría Académica. But I will ask you to do perhaps to design another lesson plan, okay? That I want to work on presentation. But I was saying I'm not so worried about time because I don't have to round up. The only thing I have to round up is the topics and the theoretical frame that we are supposed to cover. Okay?
Yeah.
Right?
What about the narrative? Was one of the final
Yes,
project
yes.
we have to present, but
No, because I mean, Federico, you cannot present a narrative on something you haven't done.
mhm,
That's
okay.
it. You perhaps in the future, next
In
after
the
you
future, next
do.
year.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's why I mean the kind of work we used to do is the narrative, but now there isn't. I mean, you can only talk about what we did on Zoom, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Well. So we will be, listen, I have not opened the Padlet, but I will be open it in these days to see if you have all uploaded it. And please, by the end of this weekend, okay, upload the new versions of the lesson plan of practice, of a simple past, with the corrections, okay? All right.
Yes.
Well, and on next Wednesday, we're going to have a clinic, right, of existential doubts. All right?
Okay, Sandra.
Well, see you. Goodbye.
Bye, Sandra.
Bye-bye.
Good luck in the
Take care.
test. Good luck.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.